Let's learn something really quick.
If you got the time, absolutely. And you got the discipline, there's no question about it.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great practice to put into your everyday life, you guys.
You generally regret the things you don't do, not the things you did do. Let me say it that way.
Mic drop. This was just awesome. I love meeting my guests in person, and it's a whole nother animal, and the energy is just electric. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bringing incredible guests from all over the world, so sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is the founder of Brasa Peruvian Kitchen, author of People First Culture. He's worked with big names like JP Morgan Chase, Subway, and Lexus as a management consultant, and he loves covering the topic of building a people-first company culture. Woo, I can't wait. Please welcome Michel Falcon. Michel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, as I was saying, if anybody listens to my show like consistently, they're probably going to know a lot about my life, right? Like what goes on behind the scenes. Because I feel like that's the best way for people to connect with you is if you're relatable. So when I saw this come across my email, I'm like, oh yes, I love this. This building a people first company culture. I think that's very like new in today's world, right? And I have some people that are going through a very toxic situation in their work environment. So before we get into all that and unpack it and understand like how that can change, let's tell the audience what building a people first company culture means and what that looks like.
At the core of it is putting the people that actually drive the business at the center of decision making. The outcome of that is a customer experience that has never been seen before in your respective industry, restaurants, grocery stores, dentistry, you name it.
Yeah.
The reward is a little thing that we call profit.
Profit.
Because you put the people, your frontline team members at the core of the company. You genuinely consider them when you make decisions.
Yeah.
Now, not all decisions from leaders are going to be popular.
Right.
So be it that you are able to say, yes, we consciously thought of how this might impact our team members. There are times we have to make unpopular decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
That is going to increase employee retention, productivity, absenteeism goes down, morale goes up. Every metric that should be going in the right direction goes in the right direction over time. Now, it's not a company without imperfection. Of course, no company is perfect, but what the customer sees is something that they want to buy from again. The familiarity, the predictability, whether it's SaaS software or buying a warm bowl salad or smoothie from me at Brasa Peruvian Kitchen, that reward, I call profit a reward.
Yeah.
It's a reward of our people first culture efforts. Now profit sometimes is villainized. Having a profitable company, so be it, that you're able to lead with a people first culture is something that should be celebrated, not villainized. Profit doesn't have to show up just in dollars and cents. You can profit by having high employee retention or morale and customer loyalty and being an admired brand in your community. It doesn't just have to mean dollars and cents. Profit can be framed by many other great things that come from leading this way.
But when you have employee retention and you have all those positive things, that I think naturally drives that your P&L profit percentage up.
Of course, like in my world, when I have an engaged team member, they're taking care of our food. They're not over portioning. They're not under portioning. That's going to repel customers. They're doing the job well. Now that can go for sales, customer service, you name it, right? Because at the end of the day, what we're managing is human behavior. It's not industry. Forget about the industry. It's the human behavior of building a business.
Yeah.
And last time I checked, People want to be treated fairly. They want to be compensated according to their performance and be surrounded by people that believe in meritocracy. And that's how I run. So if you were to Google my name and people first page transparency, I famously got a lot of media about a year and a half ago in 2023 because I revealed everybody's pay in our company to the dollar,
Yeah.
not salary band, to the dollar. And it went semi-viral in North America, and I pay more. I pay 21% more than comparable restaurants without asking for tips from our customers. But here's the rub. Like, here's the agreement I have with my team members. I'm going to pay you more,
Yeah.
guaranteed income, not relying on tips.
Yes.
I'm going to pay you for your breaks.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you for your sick time. I'm going to take care of you. But here's the thing that I want in return. I want grateful hospitality. I want clinically clean restaurants.
Yeah.
And in return, I also want consistently flavorful meals, because those are the three things that our guests have told us that they want from our restaurant and similar restaurants in our industry. So I over index on the employee side of things so that the output are the things that our customers want.
Yeah.
We've made it very clear. We call it the 3 Ps: people, product, property. We're going to nail those 3 things, and we know that we can drive another word that starts with a B, and that's profit, which is what I want, and so do my investors.
Of course. And I feel like that is almost like common sense, right? When you talk to your employees and say, I'm going to do this for you, but you're going to do this for me. It's an agreement that does make sense all around. Like the employees feeling valued, right? Valued. And therefore they're going to work hard for you to give you what you want. Right. And I think that that's an equal exchange, and that's an understood agreement.
Well, I almost jumped out of my chair when you said that, because I was about to say this. And it seems like we're very aligned with that. Isn't this common sense, Michelle? You take care of somebody, they take care of you.
Yeah.
Here's the challenge with the people first culture: leadership. Many leaders have never lived in this type of environment. If you go to my parents' era, it was like employees don't speak up, they don't get a voice, they're just there, they come, they go, they leave, and so forth. Whereas I started my career, regardless of where you are in North America or Australia, they likely have a franchise, and the company is called 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Yeah, that's a $500 million company,
Yeah.
privately owned. And I left a business school, to my South American parents' dismay, to go join that company. Long story short, I rose through the ranks, and it was there that I learned the power of company culture as a profit driver, amongst other good things, building an admired brand and so forth. Now, you remember the human behavior thing we
Yeah.
did reference?
Mhm.
Take my relationship with my wife. She serves me, I serve her. There's reciprocation, there's mutual respect, and the relationship blossoms.
Yeah.
Now, not every relationship in our personal or professional lives are equal, or do they ever blossom to what we want it to be.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's still human behavior. It's a study of human psychology, whether it's at home,
Yeah.
with friends, or at the workplace. Strip it all away, because we have done a phenomenal job of erecting this barrier between how we behave in the professional world and how we behave in our personal world. It's the same world.
Yeah.
I don't come to work and put on my CEO hat and then walk in the front door and put on my husband.
But some people do, though.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental problem of authenticity when it comes to our leadership.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like everybody must inherently know how to lead this way. But as a leader, it is your responsibility to study new methods of
Yeah.
getting people to follow you and your behaviors, how you want to build the company and your followers.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the beauty of podcasts and reading books of people that have come before us, and being a student. Sometimes once we get into a leadership position, our education starts to decline, when in actuality, it actually needs to progress at a faster rate because our team members are also growing as they should be within this culture that we have of growth and development. Well, the leaders must do so at a much faster pace to stay ahead of the
Yeah,
change in this human behavior.
I would agree. So now it says that you've worked with JP Morgan Chase, Subway, and Lexus as a management consultant. So I'm assuming that happened after that went viral for you.
No, it actually happened before. So the very brief timeline is between 1-800 Got Junk and getting into restaurants. I was a management consultant because I had this expertise around company culture and customer experience. And my second client ever was Verizon Wireless, a $100 billion company. I moved back in with my parents because I didn't know if I could afford rent with this new business I had. And this email, I'll never forget his name, Troy Fairchild, contacted me through my website, michelfalcon.com. It's the same URL to this day. And, I read the email, I closed my laptop. I was like, I gotta walk away from this laptop. And I opened it again. I was like, wow, this is real. Um,
That's an awesome. That's an awesome email to get.
it was. And, I had to learn really quickly, like, how do I invoice a company this big? And, what's a W-9 BEN form and all these things. So, but I knew that I had this expertise that had been fostered at 1-800 Got Junk for years.
Yeah.
And I had what I believed a gift, for leaders that wanted to learn how to lead this way. And I'm so thankful that my real world MBA came from 1-800 Got Junk. Who would have thought a junk removal service? And to this day, I have seen the inner workings of some of the biggest companies of the world because of my days as a management consultant. I can full-heartedly tell you that 1-800 Got Junk system and process is next level.
Yeah.
Such a phenomenal company, and I'm so fortunate that I got paid to learn. And I would like to think I contributed at the same time too. But now at my company, I have to pay it forward. One of the things that I've become obsessed over, and one of our core values is employee obsessed. And it's not just making sure that we're taking care of them and paying them well. It's how are we educating them? Because I want Brasa Peruvian Kitchen to be seen like an alma mater, just like your university might be, where, Xerox, for example, has this reputation of having a great sales training culture.
Yeah.
And there's many other companies like this. And I would like Brasa Peruvian Kitchen to grow to become like this one day.
I love it. So with working with these larger names, big corporations, and having your own business and implementing this skill, this gift that you have to give, what is the difference between your ability to do it and other companies' inability to do it? So we're gonna talk about this example that I have from some people that are close to me and what they're going through in an environment that is very toxic and bipolar and just very bizarre. And they're very new. And so I just feel it's very unfair to hire people and to treat them like that when you're trying to achieve a goal within your business model. And I'm no stranger to owning businesses and landing big contracts. You talked about Verizon. I landed a contract with Verizon in my previous life. I've landed many multi-million-dollar contracts. So manage 150 people. I was a C-level executive. So I've created a lot of leaders, right? And one thing that I can pride myself on being a leader is always wanting to give my employees or my coworkers the tools they need to succeed.
Yep.
And so I think sometimes these large corporations get so caught up in that PM that they forget about the person behind what drives that PM. And therefore it almost becomes toxic.
Yeah, and the first thing is it's twofold. First, it's how I was raised. My Rosa and Raul Falcon are the salt of the earth. Immigrants to Canada in the 70s, worked their way up, raised their kids as Canadians. I'm now living in New York, but spent the majority of my time in Canada. Just the most kind human beings ever. So that empathy and that desire to serve started there. They formed my DNA, which inevitably carried on
Sure.
as I became a leader. Now, the competitive nature comes from my father. So ever since I was a child playing hockey, I wanted to win. Like, even today, I was coaching a new team member named Chris at the restaurant. It was his first day, and I usually like to meet with everybody for at least an hour on their first day. We're getting bigger, so it's going to get harder for me to do that. But if there's a will, there's a way. But we were standing outside of our restaurant in a concourse where, Chipotle and these other recognizable brands are right across the hall. And I said, Chris, I want everybody here to do well, but I don't want anybody to do better than me. And I need you to be a kind, high performer. So for us, you have to be habitually kind to work with us, to each other, to our guests, to our suppliers, to our Uber Eats drivers, because that is what customer centricity is. It's not just to your best customers, to everybody who interacts with your company. And Rasa Peruvian Kitchen, I'm of Peruvian heritage, Canadian Peruvian. And if you go to Peru, one of the things everybody comes back and says is everybody's really nice there. So how could I have a North American inspired Peruvian brand without kindness? You don't have to be Peruvian to work for us, but you got to be kind. But you have to be a high.
Looking for a job? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, hey, we're always hiring. I always say that we're always hiring. Because I believe there's a lot of A players working for seed companies.
Yeah.
I got to find those people. I got to make the offer so compelling that they want to join us. And as CEO of our company,
And if they don't have a restaurant background?
yeah, we could figure it out. Look, the CEO of Uber wasn't, the taxi medallion god, and it's just transferable skills. So no, you don't need to have restaurant background. If anything, I don't even put a lot of clout on it, only because if you're trying to create something that's never been seen before, it's advantageous to welcome people into the company who actually have neighboring skill sets from other industries. But with Brasa, you've got to be two things. You've got to be very competitive because you are a high performer. And then two, you have to couple that with this habitual kindness, this sunny disposition to yourself. Because guess what? I don't like hanging out with miserable people in my personal life.
No.
And I'm not going to accept it in the workplace. And, I'm not saying everybody's got to come in with pom-poms and so forth. That's not for us either. But just this natural kindness. And here's the thing. I don't have the time or the patience, and it's not my responsibility to teach you how to be kind or a high performer. You were taught that when you were 7 by somebody in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm not a trained psychologist to rewire you as an adult. It's not my job. I don't have the patience. I'm not going to do that. So our interview process is very rigorous. We over-index on the kindness and the high performance. And look, things are going well. We're growing at a very great rate. We started the company during the pandemic, which definitely was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah,
And New York too, which had stricter rules than a lot of other New York and California. We had a bad year in Chicago, but
So I will tell you, we started in Toronto. Toronto, outside of China, was the most lockdown city in the world. 3 or 4 lockdowns. So we started there. It was worse than New York. It was worse than California. I used to actually live in Chicago. I used to live in River North.
I'm in Jefferson Park. So my husband is a police officer in River North.
Oh, no way. Yeah. 77 West Huron is where I lived, right by the old Rock and Roll McDonald's. Phenomenal town.
So, okay. Going back to being the lockdown, you started it during the lockdown, the hardest thing that you ever did. And now where you are today.
Yeah, we have 3 locations in Toronto, 1 operating in New York. They're all corporately owned, so not franchised. We got another one under construction in a neighborhood called Astoria in Queens.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. And then I'm about to sign our 6th location probably within the next day or 2, and that would be in Midtown Manhattan.
Wow.
We're gonna get
What about Chicago? You got to come here. We love Peru.
Yeah. Yes. So there's actually a friend of mine, Jose Luis Chavez, opened a Peruvian restaurant called Callao. I highly recommend going. It's full service. I run fast casual restaurants, so picture like Chipotle but Peruvian flavors.
Yeah.
And Chicago's on my radar. It absolutely is. I know the market really well. I've already kind of plotted some markets in my head, but we want to gain traction in New York. We probably have the opportunity to open maybe 20 in Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Wow.
And, yeah, so we're going to focus here. But we'll see. I very much love this business. Is it difficult? Oh, you bet. It is difficult. It is a game of nickels and dimes, but
Of course.
you just
Well,
hope that there's a lot.
with any business, I feel like. But before we start wrapping things up, I want to bring up the situation because you talk about people first, company culture. That some of my friends are going through. They started within an organization. They know each other because they came from a previous company. The manager hired them on. Like I know them because I worked with them many years ago. And they started, it's a very similar industry that they were in before. And it was a new team, new like hunter team, outbound sales team, which is going to be tough, right? So they started in this new role. And since they started, they've felt like their job was constantly on the line, right? Because number one, they didn't have a lot of training, no like sales training, no real systems integration training, nothing. They kind of were like thrown to the wolves, and that's it. And so the leader that hired them that they knew from the previous job just resigned the other day. And now they're just like, I keep getting messages nonstop. Like they're just freaking out. I don't know if we have a job. And then they get a message saying that they're going to get shirts from the company. And I'm like, whoa, like my head is exploding for them.
Right.
And like, I feel like someone should step up and say something, like send an email to the CEO, send an email to somebody, like say, hey, this has been my experience so far. And I was really excited to start this role and be a part of the team. But, I've experienced this toxic environment and just really not given the tools to succeed.
Mhm. Well, something I learned early in my career, people don't fail, processes do. So if this outbound team aren't meeting targets,
Yeah.
if I was the leader of that department, I would first be questioning a few things. One, did our hiring process break down? Should these individuals even be on the team? Let's just assume they should be because they're high performers. Well, check. We audited that. The second is, did the training process break down? And as a humble leader who is self-aware, I should look myself in the mirror and say, no, these are the right people. The process the process might not even be there, let alone broken down, be able to maximize their performance. So that's assuming the leader's in place. In this circumstance, should somebody speak up? Absolutely. Yes. Is it potentially putting a target on your back? Unfortunately, yes, dependent on who is receiving the message. As a leader of a company, whether it's a CEO or the vice president of a department, you have to have your ears everywhere listening. Now, here's a challenge. When you are a leader of dozens of people, perhaps, or even if it's a smaller team, one, if you do not have an active method for listening on a weekly basis, so every Thursday from 4 to 4:30, I meet with one team member and I pay them for the 30 minutes to have a virtual call. And we're starting to grow in size. And I am in New York and we have restaurants in Toronto. So I ask them three questions. I say, if you were me, what would you do to improve the company culture?
Yeah.
Number two, is there anything happening in the company that you don't think I'm aware of? Number three, pardon me, there's four questions. Number three, what is it that you need from me?
Yeah.
Number four, what do I have to do to have you tell everybody that we are a great workplace and bring all of your family members and friends to come work with us? And then I just listen and listen and listen. And sometimes it's great. And sometimes what you hear is it stings, right? Like this is my baby, my department, I'm a leader. But now let's say that active listening isn't happening from the leadership perspective at this respective company. I would hope that the person leading the organization of the department would be thankful. You hear this employee intelligence. I didn't know. I don't know what I don't know. Now the leader is always supposed to know. That's the fact of the matter.
Yeah.
It is. We get all of the blame and we should deflect all the praise to our team, but we take all the blame. That's where the
Right.
leader.
Absolutely.
So with your friends in this circumstance, I would say speak up, but speak diplomatically.
Yeah.
Deliver the message like a professional, and then that way it will be more likely to be received well, so that real change can be created.
Absolutely. Well, wonderful. Thank you for that, Michelle. Where can people find you, support you, purchase your book, and learn more about Brasa Proving Kitchen?
Yes. So, my parents blessed and cursed me with this unique name. So if you go to Google and type in my first and last name and spell it correctly, you'll find me everywhere, everywhere, just wherever you want to hang out with me there, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, or my personal website. I do have a coaching program helping senior leaders develop some of the systems and processes that I've been using for 15 years. So it's called Teams by MichelFalcon.com. So that's the URL. And then Brass Improving Kitchen. We got locations in Toronto, in New York, and hopefully Chicago soon. But at the very least, reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, say you heard this podcast, say hi. I love meeting people. If there's a question I can help you with, please. This is like truly, this is not work for me. I love it. Yes. Are there days where I'm like, ooh, this is tough? Of course, but I love connecting with people. Truly, I'm more than happy to share what I know.
And the book, is it on Amazon?
Yes, People First Culture. Search my name. You'll find that there too.
Okay, awesome. You guys can put a few of those links in the show notes. So if you connected with Michel and want to learn more or visit one of his restaurants, go click the links, go purchase the book, go connect with him on social, and yeah, do what's right and put people first. With that being said, Michel, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
Make sure you're auditing your behavior as a people first culture leader. Always audit every single month. How am I doing? What can I improve? Talk to your people, take that feedback, do something with it. And you will have people following and leading you, and you'll feel really good and proud of your leadership.
Amen to that. Well, Michel, this has been quite the pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts and your journey and making such an impact, not only with your restaurants, with your book, but also with other large organizations. Because I feel like in today's world, there's so much going on around us, so much change that I think people need to feel valued and heard and appreciated. And that's the only way where we're going to start to see major change in society is when people like you that are leading these great teams and creating these good businesses that are putting those people first so they can go home happy and they spread that in the world and create and treat other people the same way.
I'm trying my best.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As always, you guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu, Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.